Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. I work part-time at a veterinary hospital. They have a regular client who is a wealthy woman. I'm 19M. It was my first time meeting her. I don't know her age. She was older than 35 for sure. She ended up tipping me personally, and while making that very clear, $100 because I helped stay with her dog over the weekend at the clinic. The woman clearly loves her dog, and I thought the tip was because she was grateful. While giving me this money, she gave me some compliments and joked about wanting to take me out on a date. I politely declined, assuming she was not serious. I tried to give her money back. She said something like, "Maybe another time." You keep this referring to the money. She leaves in good spirits with her dog. I give the money to the clinic. I get a call 3 days later from a colleague who is complaining to me about how this lady keeps asking for me at the clinic. A few more days go by and I'm back at work. The owner tells me she has been demanding for her money back because I lied to her. They have sent her away each time and have also threatened to remove her as a client. The owner wanted to get my side of the story. That same day, the lady shows up because someone got fed up with her calls on their shift and told her when I'd be next in. Here's where it got kind of crazy. She, I'm not kidding, demands you do what I say. I don't even know how to respond. It's the first thing she comes up and says, "I just raise a brow." And she adds, "I paid you." I'm calm. I try to clarify. "What exactly did you pay me for?" She refuses to explain. Now she just wants her money back. I'm not about to argue over this, and I don't want to make the clinic pay. I tell her I don't have $100 on me at the moment, but I'll get her money. She grabs my arm and tries to lead me out to her car. "Let's go, right now." A colleague quickly pulled cash to give to the woman. She said, "I don't need that," and called me a racial slur. She left the money on the ground. At this point, the owner told her she needs to leave and she is no longer a client at his practice. A police report was also made, so she's not allowed on the premises. This is probably one of the top 10 weirdest things that has ever happened to me. Since my high school days, I've been correcting some of my friends' papers. I mostly only check the grammar, but I also do some minor adjustments, for instance. I had one friend who didn't understand the concept of paragraphs until college, every now and then. I'm not a professional by any means, but my work has been good enough that my friends have recommended me to some of their peers. I graduated college in 2019. I'm not a teacher or a student, and I don't charge anyone anything. Whenever I agree to do this, it's purely for fun. However, I've been doing it less and less lately, as I now have an actual job, a husband, and a toddler. Also, almost all my friends have graduated. One of the exceptions is a close friend of mine who recently decided to get a second degree. His class had a pretty big paper to deliver last week, and he recommended my services to a classmate of his. I was put in contact with the classmate. I'll call him Derek, an 18-year-old who, based on our interactions through the phone, seemed like a chill person. In retrospect, I'm pretty sure he was just high. The paper was due last Monday at 7:30, right before the start of their class, and he promised me he'd send it for me to grammar check it at least 24 hours before. On Monday, at O'Neill, Derek finally sent me the paper. As promised, I swallowed my frustration and got to work. The paper was 3 pages long. As I read it, I noticed that at least half of it was very obviously written by your friend and mine, ChatGPT. It was bad enough that I almost immediately realized the information was wrong. I think the AI confused 2 different people, which derailed much of what came next, even though I only had a basic understanding of what the paper was about. But it was 1 a.m., and the grammar for that half was fine, so I didn't touch it. I only corrected the offensively atrocious grammar present everywhere else. I sent him the finished paper about an hour later. He didn't thank me. Derek got his grade back yesterday. His paper got a 2 out of 10, and his teacher apparently told him he was lucky to get even that. His response was to send me a text that said something along the lines of, "What the F did you do? Weren't you supposed to correct it?" I reminded Derek that I corrected grammatical errors, not information. He'd been informed of that several times by both me and my friend before I agreed to help. He rudely continued to text me that I should have corrected the rest of it anyway, since I could tell the information was inaccurate. So Derek, who relied on AI to write half of a very important paper, is blaming me for the fact that his teacher saw right through it. And judging by some of his texts, I think he expected me to rewrite parts of his paper. The effing nerve on this guy. I get it. I was a student once, and I don't miss it. But I'd never treat anyone like this, especially someone who had just done me a favor. I am seriously considering not doing grammar checks anymore. A few years ago, I used to work at a large retail company on the overnight shift at the time. As many who have worked in retail probably know, inventory time is a big deal as it can determine whether we get a bonus or not, on top of having to do extra training if the shrinkage amount is really high. We had these devices that were used to do things like add or subtract items from inventory, print labels, keep track of what bins inventory was in, and so forth. Well, this one particular store, the department managers had talked the store manager into allowing them to store these devices in their lockers at the end of their shifts, which means no one else on any shift could use them, except in one department that needed the device to assist customers. About 4 weeks prior to inventory, I asked the co-manager to have these devices left for us so that we can start getting the back rooms ready for inventory, which means getting labels on all the boxes, and then the amount that is in each box. And if there is a row of the same item, to put the correct amount for all the items of that particular item on the label. Day shift wouldn't do this because they were always too busy. For the next 2 weeks, we were never left any of these devices to get the back rooms completed. This will have been my 8th or 9th inventory, so I know that come inventory time, if the back rooms aren't done, it is always blamed on the overnight manager. So I spent my 2 days off, and bear in mind I'm salary, so I don't get paid for this time. At work getting the back stock room completed, this was about 20 extra hours of unpaid time. I had come in early enough both shifts to be sure to get one of these devices before they were locked away in their lockers. My co-manager had seen me doing this when he came in the first morning, and he asked me why I was there being it was my night off. I told him that since my numerous requests to have the devices available for us hadn't been done, I was there to get the bins in order. I figured when I came back from my next shift after my 2 unpaid nights, that we would have some of these devices available for us to keep up on any leftover stock that needed to be put away in the bins. I was wrong. When I came in and seen that there were none left for us, to say I was pissed is putting it lightly. All that time spent unpaid and these department managers still think these devices should be kept to themselves. So I went to the HAR office and got the locker binder. In this binder is the combination to all the padlocks on each locker. I also grabbed a flashlight and began going through every locker that was assigned to a department manager, and if I saw one of the devices in the locker, I opened it and took out the device. Luckily, the area had cameras, so it was easy to see what I took out of a locker. I found every device we had, put them in a shopping cart, and handed them out to the associates. Each one had a huge smile on their face and told me thanks. Around 6, I had the associates bring the devices back and put them in another shopping cart, because the last hour of the shift is spent cleaning up and zoning the aisle, meaning making all the product on the shelves look straight. Then I waited for the department managers to come in. They started trickling in around 6:45 a.m., and when they had seen the devices sitting in a shopping cart, well, you would have thought that someone had just taken their firstborns from them. Generally, what happens with me is the co-manager comes to the assistant's office. I get up and go walk the floor with him to see if there was anything I had missed or whatever. This morning, however, when he came to the office, I went to get up and he basically said, "Hold on, the store manager wants to talk to me first." I asked, "Am I in trouble?" He said, "Don't know, but I'll let you know." So I waited a bit until he came and got me and we started on our walk. I asked him if I was in trouble and pled my case about having asked for the devices for the last 2 weeks and got nothing. He said no, but if I decide to do this type of thing again, to at least warn him first. I had heard from some of the other assistant managers before I left that some of the department managers were really pissed and said I should be coached because how dare I go through their lockers. What they apparently didn't know was that company policy actually stated that company equipment is not to be left in lockers after their work shift, and if it is, we have the authority to go through their lockers and find it. I left and expected to once again not have the devices available for us because I was sure the department managers would get their way. When I came in that night, every device was sitting in an office for us to use, and it stayed that way every night up the inventory. The funny thing is, there was a song that was playing when the department managers had started coming in, and it was such a fitting song that now whenever I hear it, I think of this event. The song was Not Ready to Make Nice by the Dixie Chicks, as they were known back then. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I'm pretty sure the department managers thought so. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. I am just typing this down so I can keep a good memory of this. Some context. Yes, I have gone to the police about this. Yes, I am pressing charges. Yes, they have identified her after an appeal to the public. Thank you, Southampton Police. I am, as you can tell from the title, physically disabled. My main 4 conditions are Marfan syndrome, scoliosis, somewhat corrected surgically, but I cannot bend over anymore. The third one is arthritis in my legs. Yes, people in their 20s can get arthritis, and whilst it isn't super bad any more than down my road and back is painful. The fourth condition is PTSD from a school life where I almost got killed for being disabled. Because of this cocktail of pain, I'm unable to ride a normal bicycle, and instead must rely on a mobility scooter. I'm experimenting with a custom e-bike I cobbled together, but not confident 100 with it yet. I love my scooter. I call her Rosie due to her red paint. Sure, she isn't a standard mobility scooter, essentially being an electric moped someone slapped 2 extra wheels on. While she is as maneuverable as a sledgehammer, she can take me a good 50 miles per charge. Plus, I can get to work on it without any issue and in about 10-20 minutes, depending on traffic. So, on to the incident. I was on my way home and took a route through the local common, as per usual. Class 3 invalid carriages can go on both walkways and roads. I slid onto one of the main paths when I saw a cyclist ahead of me. She was just cresting the hill and was on my side of the path. I'd hazard a guess and say there must have been at most 18-20 meter space between us. Now me on a slow scooter, I saw no one was right behind me, not even a walker, so I decided to stop to let her go around me. I got nervous as she closed the gap going top speed, but not slowing down before she slammed on the brakes. Tumbler brakes, I assumed, from the long stop distance. I did the universal polite driver gesture for go on bud, go around, then the first thing out of her mouth was get out of my way or I will knock you off your scooter. Not being a moron, I whipped out my phone, stuck in my earbuds, they have a better quality mic, and hit record. She goes on to comment, "Oh, you're recording now," and I inform her that yes, because she has made a physical threat. Now I'll admit I was being a bit of a hole during our recorded interaction, but I show zero respect to people that think they can use intimidation to get over me. We argued for about 5 minutes going over things like the condition of the path and how little I actually cared about her tires. She claimed to have really expensive tires and was worried that going over racks would burst her tires, which I do not understand. Aren't the more pricey tires more durable? But that also brings up if she is concerned that normal usage of her bike's tires will burst them. Why is she cycling? Did I swear at her? Yes, and her response. On camera threatened to attack me if I swore at her again. Swearing is not illegal, but threatening someone is. It then goes to a roughly 10-minute stand, off of her thinking she can bore me out of the way, to which I pulled my fully charged Steam Deck from my bag and began to play Fallout 3. I put my Steam Deck away after I saw her on the phone with the police and shouted from my position from my scooter, "How about you inform them about the fact you threatened me?" This, of course, annoyed her. We argued some more. I called her an ableist prick, to which she then went up to me and tried to shove me off my scooter and steals my phone. I got up and shouted for her to give me my phone, back to which she said, "Wait, you can walk." My response was, of course, I can walk. I'm on a scooter, not a wheelchair. My blood was running hot, and I was just about ready to tackle her and show her why it's a bad idea to wear glasses around someone who knows how to give a good headbutt. A stranger then approached as I saw that Karen stopping the recording and trying to delete the recording. Fortunately, I have been able to recover the footage because she is a technologically illiterate a-hole. My memory is a bit scarce. From there, my blood was running high and trying to keep my head clear. I am fairly sure I shoved Karen off her bike, got my phone back, and shouted something at her as she cycled off. The last thing I remember of the incident was Karen up in my face, screaming, so she must have turned around. This is where the stranger gets involved a second time, shoving her back and yelling at her to get lost. I'm a 21-year-old female living with my mom, 56 years old, and my sister, 25 years old. I work part-time and clean houses on my days off to cover my expenses for school, rent, and other necessities. Currently, I have managed to save up around $12,000. While my mom and sister have well-paying jobs, they struggle with budgeting and have poor spending habits. Recently, I discovered that my hidden safe, cleverly disguised as a book, had gone missing. To protect my savings from my mom and sister, who had previously taken money from me on 2 separate occasions, I had stashed my cash in this secret safe. Although I forgave them in the past, I'm not naive enough to think they wouldn't do it again. To ensure evidence, I purposely marked each bill by bending the right-hand corner, taking pictures and videos of the bent bills, the safe, and the numbers on some of the bills. To my dismay, I found the broken safe discarded in the garage bin, covered with a piece of cardboard. Coincidentally, on that day, my cousin, 24 years old, had visited, and I noticed her carrying a piece of cardboard, which turned out to be from a ginger ale box, while my mom and sister were already outside. I had just entered the kitchen to wash my hands after getting off the bus and planned to shower as soon as I got home to minimize any potential exposure to COVID. I became suspicious and decided to check my mom's and sister's wallets, where I found the bills with the bent corner. Gathering photographic and video evidence, I formulated a plan to confront them. The following day, when our extended family gathered at my aunt's house, we were all engaged in conversation. I took the opportunity to ask my cousin about the cardboard incident at my mom's house involving her and my sister. She claimed they were spray painting some frames for my mom's furniture refurbishing hobby. I accepted her explanation and went to retrieve my bag, containing the broken safe, along with my mom's and sister's wallets. Returning to the gathering, I dropped the broken safe in front of my cousin, who seemed surprised but remained silent. Then I turned to my sister and confronted her, stating that she definitely knew what it was. Everyone's attention was now on us. Displaying the gathered pictures and videos, I even opened their wallets, revealing my money with the bent corners. One particular picture clearly showed the numbers on the bills that matched the ones in their wallets. My cousin's mom immediately admonished her daughter for stealing from family, leaving most of the family speechless. However, my mom, sister, and cousin attempted to defend themselves. At that point, I generously announced that I wouldn't involve the police immediately, but instead gave them a month to repay what they owed me. I also made it clear that I would be moving out. I apologized to my aunt for the inconvenience caused and returned home, promptly installing a lock and chain on my bedroom door. As an update, I've decided to open a savings account and get a credit card on Monday to better manage my finances. In a positive turn of events, my aunt, who hosted the family gathering, personally reimbursed me for the money my mom and sister took. She has given them additional time to repay her and has prepared a contract to pursue legal action if necessary. Understanding the stress this situation has caused me, my aunt discouraged me from filing a police report and assured me that she would handle it. Furthermore, my other aunt, my cousin's mom, contacted me again and informed me that she will be selling my cousin's iPad, Nintendo Switch, and games to help repay me by the end of the month. For the time being, I'm staying in my friend's basement until I find a more permanent living arrangement. My friend's parents have kindly offered me a reduced rent, and I plan to reciprocate by baking cupcakes and cakes for them occasionally. This will be a long read as it's still fresh for me and might come across more as me venting. Thank you for understanding. I was planning to post on Aida first, but after even my therapist lost her composure and muttered a "what the fuck." Note, I have yet to meet a more professional mental health worker. When I told her about my falling out with an old friend and having all of my friends and family members congratulate me for my sticking up for myself. Also note, my family can be brutally honest, so I expected some criticism, and the lack thereof did strengthen my back. I decided to let it stew for a while and come here to tell you a tale of almost grandiose entitlement. So buckle up, get a good cuppa, and follow me as I recount to you the tale of my entitled flatmate. Setting: I'm a student, aka short on money, who should be writing her master's thesis, and I come from a rather privileged background, middle class, but I'm not from an English-speaking country. The last 2.5 years I had been living with one of my closest friends I met in high school, and for 2 years, it was great cohabitating and sharing our experiences doing our masters and becoming fully autonomous and functioning adult. After 1 year of living together, I started dating my current boyfriend, but the dynamic in the flat barely changed, which my friend flatmate, which I will call Veruca like the entitled character in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, just because I can, admitted herself. Then, almost 2 years after moving in together, Veruca started dating her current boyfriend, which in itself was completely fine, and I was extremely happy for her and her newfound love. But then my parents had to make the hard decision to leave the country and move back to my mother's home country, as life here as a semi-retired couple is becoming almost impossible to finance. As my whole family has a long and traumatic history with migration, this uprooting was hard on all of us and threw me even deeper into a depression I've been diagnosed with during the same period, alongside a newly diagnosed neurodivergent. All in all, a very stressful time for me and my family. On top of this, my parents left behind a large house with a garden, and as we all love the memories and stories connected to it, we weren't ready to sell it. Subsequently, the most logical and practical solution was for me to move back in. So, by the end of last August, I told Veruca that I would have to move out soon-ish, but that I was flexible, and as I didn't want to leave her hanging, I could afford to pay my share until a certain point. Why? Because I loved our friendship, appreciated her support, and felt like she deserved not having to deal with the search for a new flatmate, a smaller flat, right during her finals. She told me her last exams would be in February 2024, so I promised to support her financially until the end of March 2024 by paying my share of the rent. Spoiler alert, the last exams were in December of 2023, and she never told me about this change. And that's where it all started. The initial problem. Not even 2 weeks after I told Veruca I had to move out, she suddenly started spending 5-6 nights a week at her BF's place. And that felt like a slap in the face. I told her due to valid reasons I had to move out, and she then was never around anymore without giving me an explanation for this sudden change, leaving me to pay to stay alone in a flat that was supposed to be shared. Months later, in November, she'd asked me if her staying at her boyfriend's was okay with me. But at that point, my resentment subconsciously had grown so much I wasn't able to formulate my emotions properly and to be honest. What was I supposed to say? No, stay alone in your bedroom 3 nights a week. Either she wanted to be in the flat or she didn't. That was her decision. And I don't see a way how I could have felt less lonely coming home to an empty flat almost every night without forcing Veruca to do something she obviously didn't want to do. During that time, I started working on myself, doing a lot of self-reflection, and I finally started with therapy. Feeling left behind by my parents as well as my allegedly closest friend made me find the strength in myself, which I needed for the process of figuring out what my boundaries are, and my partner and some of my beautiful friends supported me immensely, which made my progress even bigger. A process which Veruca did not follow along because she was never around and barely ever made the effort to check in with me. Before you all come at me, whilst in the beginning I was kind of waiting for her to come back so we could resume our routine and friendship like before, after a while I did start to check in with her more through texts, but as I didn't feel like I got the same effort back, I started pulling back more. This isolation on top of my lack of proper and open communication surely did not help this whole ordeal, and I do see where my behavior contributed hugely to the falling out. This is something I'm actively working on, but as I'm a lot of negative things but not entitled, this post will not revolve around my negative traits. To make this part short, me not being as bubbly and open in our flatmate group chat anymore and not sharing my life with her as much as I did before was noticed by Veruca, but for the longest time she didn't comment on it. At the same time, I started saying no more. I didn't, for example, volunteer to go purchase household items as much anymore, and I just generally drew boundaries in situations I had never done so before. Something which seems completely normal in a healthy relationship, but I barely ever stood up for me. I was almost always the one to cave in, to give in on demands or take a step back. This would then lead to me acting out and being passive, aggressive when I was being pushed too far, which was extremely toxic and unproductive. Proud to say, that's not the case anymore. So pushing back when I was not okay with a situation on top of us not communicating properly anymore led to a first falling out in February. We both aired our grievances back then and apologized for our mistakes, and for a few weeks, it seemed like everything could work out. Unfortunately, an apology only holds any value if the future actions reflect that. The disrespect. Whilst I made an effort to act more friendly, e.g. using more emojis and writing longer answers, and be more open in our mostly written interactions, something she expressed wishing to receive more from me, I did not feel like there was any change in the behavior towards me. I had expressed my sadness about feeling left behind by my parents and that my closest friend had suddenly dropped me during exactly that time. While Veruca did say she was a terrible friend for leaving me to deal with all of it myself, she never, I repeat, never checked in with me after February. While other friends texted me to chat and gave me the feeling they were there for me emotionally, I did not receive a single supportive message from her. Suddenly having to take care of a big house and garden, not complaining about the fact that I'm allowed to live here, pay high bills and insurances, keep on top of maintenance and repairs, without the physical support of your closest relatives, while continuing your job and studies, maintaining a good social life and romantic relationship, and taking care of your own mental health is a lot. So having friends just shooting a quick message from time to time did mean the world to me. Then came the week of apartment, cleaning before the handover of the keys. The whole process leading up to that point had been nerve-wracking for me, as I was not on the lease. Only subletting, but paying the same amount and being responsible for the same damages, and therefore was not involved in any of the communication, so I got all the necessary info last minute. Me no like. Something that irked me immensely. Veruca had asked me to leave some of her stuff in boxes in my at the time already empty bedroom. I first declined as I still had to clean my walls and didn't want to climb over her stuff and potentially damage it. But after that was done, I texted her to put in there whatever she wanted until the day I needed to finish cleaning my room, but to please not lean anything against the walls as I had just spent hours scrubbing off dark marks. Her answer, "Yeah, sure, I was intending to put everything on the floor anyways." All good and dandy. We split the remaining cleaning chores, and I walked in on my day off to get as many of my chores done as possible. What do I see? A load of heavy cardboard moving boxes folded open and leaning against my wall. I texted her that I didn't appreciate this disrespect of my wishes. She deflected by saying she didn't think it was a big deal as there was a towel tucked in behind the boxes. Z audacity? I bit my tongue, not pushing it further, and just got my crap done. Apart from cleaning the balcony, I finished all my chores that day and even did some of hers, such as filling in holes in the living room walls left by nails and painting over the spots so the color of the paste didn't stand out against the white wall. Just stuff you do to get crap done ASAP, you know. A few days later, I go back with my boyfriend to finish my last remaining chore. I scrubbed the balcony, and let me tell you, I was damn proud of my work. Veruca's parents and her brother arrived before her that morning to help out, and all seemed good. But once Veruca and her baff arrived, the mood seemed to change. Until this day, I can't put my finger on it, but something was off. Then the little jabs started, people walking around on freshly cleaned floors with their dirty shoes, the father snapping at my boyfriend when he asked to lend a tool, or at me when I asked to quickly use his ladder as all the chairs had been moved out already without my prior knowledge. Just petty stuff. Again, I bit my tongue, knowing that in a few days everything would be over. I finished what I had to do, and my BF and I left ASAP. Then I got a message. One of the trash bags had been leaking, leaving a stain on the wood floor. I had noticed a stain the day I went to clean the first time, not knowing where it came from, and had sent Veruca a picture of it. Now there was a second larger stain, and apparently it was from my bag. The only bags I had filled with garbage from the balcony, which were not wet, were standing on the other side of the living room. She knew it, I knew it, but apparently this bag was mine. Not willing to let this potential permanent damage be deducted from my part of the deposit, I refused to take accountability for trash I had no involvement in. And it was oh so conveniently not possible to look into the bag anymore, as it had already been taken out. As this post is already way too long, I'm cutting out the other petty crap that went down, like Veruca expressing her wanting to take shared stuff with her and mentioning no payment towards me. But when I expressed wanting to keep something, she asked me for financial compensation. Or me offering for her to keep all the kitchenware we bought together, but when I asked to only take the pizza cutter with me, she used it a lot and didn't expect to have to buy a new one. Or that I had to buy trash bags on my own dime. Let me tell you, crap like that is so expensive I don't get it, because she would take care of other stuff, but when I took those bags home with me yeah, no, I paid for them and didn't need them in the flat anymore. She'd ask me where they were as she needed them. Just little stuff that you can brush aside, but once it starts to accumulate, it lets resentment grow quickly. And this is the part you're here for. The entitlement. As I said, Veruca's parents came over to help her clean up and move. Something I didn't know until the morning of was that her father was taking our garbage with his transporter to the disposal center for us. I expressed my gratitude for his help and confirmed that I would even pay something for gas. Because, crazy prices. I did ask if it wouldn't be more convenient to just buy prepaid garbage bags we could just leave on the side of the road and which would be taken away a few days later. Price point, $20. But no, that wasn't good enough. Please don't ask me why, I don't know. Consequently, I was asked on my calm Sunday evening to pay $100 to her father for the disposal, gas, and his work. Mind you, I never asked him for help. He did not take over any of my chores, and I was not informed prior to that moment that his oh-so-precious time would be billed, as I would have never agreed to this. And I still can't wrap my head around a father asking his daughter, who he has a decent relationship with, and her flatmate, who had no say in this matter, to pay for the time he spent helping them. My parents had stored some of our furniture prior to our move 2.5 years ago, should they have billed us rent for the space they could not use in their basement. So when I refused paying such a crazy amount and told Veruca what I was comfortable paying, the $20 for the prepaid bags that would have been needed for the amount of shared trash, and an additional $10 for gas, she called me ungrateful and disrespectful and that her father felt disrespected by my behavior. I repeat, because I didn't want to pay for work I did not ask him to do. The height of impudence wasn't even that I was insulted for something that could be based in a simple misunderstanding. 2 months back, when we had the first, smaller falling out, I asked Veruca for a bit of friendly appreciation and recognition because I spent almost $2,000 on our friendship to support her and pay my share while she finished her studies and searched for a new flat and job, and I only got loneliness back. Back then, she said that she was appreciative for everything, which she never really expressed in actions, just in words which kind of lost their meaning after a while. But as she never asked for me to do that, she did not owe me anything. But now I am the ungrateful one? Hell no. So I called Veruca out on her bullcrap, compared the two situations, explained again why I was not okay with paying so much to her father, told her to go check her damn attitude, and left our flat. Chat. It felt great. And then the shock of the realization hit. I had just killed a 10-year friendship. So the only natural reaction my body knew to this was to have a nervous breakdown, which gave way to an anxiety attack. Not so calm Sunday evening anymore. By now, I have taken off the rose-tinted glasses and can start calling out so many situations where I did not have an equal part in that friendship. Input from my friends and family helped me a lot, and I feel more and more okay with the situation. Veruca did message me in our regular chat twice, first to confirm that the handover went over smoothly. I could not be there as she didn't confirm the time with me and I had meetings I couldn't and also wasn't willing to move, another grr moment for me. And then to send me a payment slip from the deposit site, which was over $70. The confirmation for me that my solution with the prepaid bags would have been way cheaper after all. Veruca also told me that during the last few weeks or months, she always felt like she was a crappy friend when interacting with me. Something I definitely did not transmit as I actively pushed to be more open again, and took a step back when drawing boundaries so that our relationship wouldn't suffer even more than it already had. Which simply told me that this was her bad conscience, making her feel that way as she knew exactly how she had let me down and continued to not pull her weight in the friendship. And lastly, Veruca wanted me to contact her again when I feel open to the conversation and ready to reflect on everything, like I was the one insulting her on a nice Sunday evening. I refused to take over this responsibility to essentially revive the friendship, as this way she could solidly blame me for the failed friendship, as it would be on me to restart the contact after a cooling down period. And made it clear that unless she showed insight in her screw-up and I got an apology for this hypocritic offense towards my character, I was not seeing any way how we could see eye to eye again. She simply replied that obviously we both couldn't work through this atom, and then she thanked me for our wonderful time together and wished me all the best, something that was called manipulative by a few friends of mine. But I refused to see it that way as I don't want to taint our last, rather positive interaction. I realize I contributed my fair share to this falling out, and I have a list of things I'm now working on to avoid creating such a situation again. I also realize that this has been one hell of a venting post, and I'm grateful if you read it all. I'm on my way to the airport, so I'm sorry if I won't be able to reply to comments, but I wish you all the best and will read your messages once I have the time and internet connection again. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.